What's up, guys? I'm Legacy, and today we're going to be watching some more scary videos. So strap in. We're watching another video by Slapped Ham. You know he's the GOAT. Go check him out. I appreciate y'all for watching, and grab your munchies, and let's get it. We're getting body cam videos, and
those are the voicemails this man says he's been receiving from his ex-wife, and they're the reason he called the police.
What's happening on the video?
This scary video comes from a Florida police body cam uploaded by the channel Police Cam and recorded back in March 2026. A man approaches an officer in a car park, phone in hand, wanting to document everything that's been happening to him.
I have to find this body cam video.
I just want to document everything that's going on. So I'm pulling up. This is from last night. Did you saw the email I sent you? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to go through these again, but I don't know if you listen to them. They're f***ing scary.
What?
He explains that his ex-wife has been calling him over and over. In one stretch, he counts 17 calls and 9 separate voicemails left in barely an hour.
Okay.
But it isn't the number of calls that's so unsettling, it's what's on them. The voice in the messages is screaming and crying and wailing things that barely make sense. Pleas for help, cries that someone has been killed.
Oh my goodness. Can we hear an old video of her for reference? Is this what her voice sounds like naturally?
Sounds wrong, distorted, altered, almost nothing like the woman he says he was married to for years. When the clip spread online, the comments filled with one word over and over: demonic. Thousands were convinced this wasn't a woman at all, but something that had taken hold of her, that she was, quite literally, possessed. The man's own fear was more grounded. These calls were coming in while their children were sometimes in her care. He tells the officer he couldn't be sure if he was hearing his ex-wife or his own daughter screaming in the background.
I would be really f***ing scared.
Absolutely,
I would be calling you to go check on them because I couldn't tell if that was my daughter screaming for help or what the f*** that noise is.
Right.
So I'd be freaking out.
Soon after, officers ran a welfare check at her home. According to the report, some of her earlier calls had been deleted. She grew agitated and was arrested.
Please.
Gloves?
Please don't do it. Gabby, I can't believe you did this to me.
The charge, obscene communication, a form of stalking, and as of this footage, her case was still before the courts. Where more than a century ago, the Titanic slipped beneath the waves and took over 1,500 souls with it. This next scary video was filmed by a group of sailors crossing that very spot.
You won't ever catch me on a boat, bro. You won't ever catch me on a boat, brother.
According to them, it wasn't the first time they'd sailed it. They say they'd heard strange things out here before, but never as clearly as this. As they cross the open water,
Oh
they
my
begin to hear
goodness.
sounds carried in on the wind, screaming, cries for help, and faintly what sounds like music. The strains of violins like an orchestra playing somewhere out across the sea. Listen closely.
Wow.
The sounds drift in with the breeze, growing clearer for a moment before they fade away entirely. As the sailors put it, as soon as the sounds came, they were gone.
That's crazy.
And it's the music
like
that's
the
hardest to
area
shake,
is
because anyone who knows the story of the
stuck.
Titanic knows about her band. The musicians who, as the ship went down, are said to have kept playing to the very end, hoping to calm the passengers in their final moments.
Wow, I didn't know
Now,
that.
the clip has gone viral and not everyone is convinced. The most common explanation in the comments is a simple one, that the screams and the orchestral music were lifted straight from the 1997 film Titanic and laid over ordinary footage of the sea. A hoax, dressed up in the most haunting setting imaginable.
Was it proved as a hoax?
It's a fair point. The audio is brief and it's impossible to verify.
It sounds like, I bet you there's like a lot of restless spirits there, you know? They're trapped, they
Sailors
can't go
insist
anywhere.
It's real. That out there over the water where the great ship still lies, they heard the screaming and the violins drifting in on the wind. And then, just as quickly, the sea fell silent again.
It's crazy to know that they're on top of that boat, but how deep that water goes under them is insane. It's just straight abyssal under them. That's a terrifying thought, man.
Some people collect stamps or coins. This man collects haunted objects. And lately, he thinks they've started to fight back.
I'm just going upstairs watching TV.
He goes by Jack-o'-lantern Stories, an author who hunts down ghost stories from across haunted Britain. He lives in a 1920s house in the north of England, and over the years he's filled it with his collection.
That's cool. I want something like that.
Make yourself known.
I put
Go on.
salt around everything, but
Where are you?
And now he says the house won't settle. He's been hearing banging, noises with no source, so he started filming.
It's banging in the living room. There's nobody else in the house. I'm just going upstairs watching TV.
it kind of sounds like chimes, like
Some
chimes
of my
sitting
old
together.
Objects from the old house are in here.
As he enters the living room, this happens.
Hello? Hello? Oh. Whoa.
Brother, you bought a bunch of haunted
my God.
objects. What'd you
That's
think
not
was
the only
gonna
thing his
happen?
camera caught.
Not even there.
Little later, in another room, more activity occurs.
Fishing line. Fishing line.
A chair topples over. No one near it, nothing to push it.
It sounds like a symbol, bro.
For a man who has spent years surrounding himself with haunted things, it's left him asking one very reasonable question. Should he stop collecting?
Nah.
All right, what happened last night?
Okay, I woke up at 2:30. Somebody grabbed my arm.
It was 2:30 in the morning when he felt the hand close around his arm.
It was still dark in the room. Next thing I know, I was burned. It started burning
In the dark, half asleep, he felt fingers wrapped tightly around his forearm.
That's when I jumped up and turned the light on, and that's what I had on.
This scary video was shared on Instagram by a woman visiting her parents when her father told her what had happened in the night.
Jeez, Daddy.
Don't know.
And does it hurt
But
today?
it doesn't look like a handprint. It looks like
A deep purple-red mark on his inner forearm, roughly where a hand would sit if a hand had taken hold of him.
But I could feel the person's hand around me, and it's like the middle finger was on fire, burning.
By her own account, her dad is the last person who'd ever invent something like this. He's not a believer. He tells the story plainly, calmly, like a man simply reporting the facts.
Somebody grabbed my arm. Yeah, I could feel their hands going around my arm. It was still dark in the room. Next thing I know, I was burned. It started burning.
The video went viral and that might have been the end of it, but the story didn't end there. A few days later, his daughter sat him down again.
Okay.
The mark hadn't faded the way a bruise should. It had grown, darker and larger than before.
Okay. All right. Well, somebody said aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah. So y'all, as far as you know, you didn't invite any into brunch, right?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
sometimes you don't know.
So they saw the doctors.
This is why you
they
have to
saw
read the terms
specialists,
and conditions.
and everyone
people.
came
No,
back
I'm just
with the
kidding.
same answer. There was no medical condition, nothing they could find that explained it.
To address everybody's questions, you do go to a doctor. You have cardiologists, pulmonologists. You go to the dentist. You go to a GP. You've got all that covered, right? So we know this is not you getting ready to have a stroke, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you still think it was from a booger or a haint or a ghost of some sort?
Sure.
To his credit, the father stays honest about it. He admits he can't be sure, that maybe somehow he grabbed his own arm in his sleep, but he just doesn't know.
But I
He was
mean,
sound
if you were to,
asleep when
even
it
if you were to
began.
grab it,
Online, the theories ran wild. Aliens, a demon, a spirit reaching out from the dark. But strip all that away and you're left with something harder to dismiss. A man who doesn't believe in any of this, woken by a grip he couldn't see, left with a mark that grew. And not a single doctor, nor the man himself, can tell you where it came from.
All right. Well, somebody said aliens.
Aliens.
Yeah. So y'all, as far as you know, you didn't invite any into brunch, right?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
I don't know.
In this next clip, the dog noticed it first. The homeowner had been hearing strange noises, and now their dog was fixated on the dark hallway, staring at something they couldn't see.
I seen it.
There's the silhouette of a person standing in the dark. The hallway's empty, but the dog isn't confused because it imagined something. It's confused because whatever it
The
had
light
been
turned
watching
on.
just a second ago is suddenly gone.
Because the light's off and then it turns on. Nobody's talking about the light.
Late
Cat.
one night in a hospital in the Philippines, a young person found themselves with nowhere to go. They'd come to visit a former teacher's husband who was recovering after an accident, but the rain had set in, there was no transport home, and so they stayed. The first strange thing happened around midnight. The lift arrived at the 4th floor and the doors slid open. They stayed open for more than 15 seconds, but no one stepped out and no one got in.
Well,
By
who put
2 in
this
the
camera
morning,
there?
most
No,
of the
I'm just kidding.
patients were asleep. Only a couple of people remained awake near the nurses' station, and at around 3:30, with nothing much happening, the visitor took a quick, idle photo of the stairwell. Just something to post online. They didn't notice
Why?
anything at the time. It was only when they opened the picture to share it that they saw it.
I don't believe this.
There on the staircase, a tall grey figure, human-shaped, standing where no one had been.
You're telling me bro just casually took a picture of the stairs?
And here's the part that matters. When they showed the photo to the nurses, the staff didn't laugh it off. They were frightened. These are people who work the night shift in that building every single night.
And they've never seen
And
anything
after seeing
happen.
this, they began moving through the hospital in pairs, too uneasy to walk the corridors alone.
See, you make people
Now,
scared.
it has to be said, the figure is faint. It could be a smear of motion blur, a trick of the glare on a phone camera, or a shadow falling across the stairwell wall at just the wrong moment.
This is
But the people best placed to recognize an ordinary shadow in that
Photoshop.
hospital were the very people it scared the most. And for the rest of that night, the staff of that ward refused
Bro,
to
looks
walk
like he's
those
wearing a
halls
backpack.
alone.
I call cap on that one.
It
Ooh,
was meant
those
to
are
be the
some
most
nice
ordinary
couches.
photo in the world. Someone had just redecorated their living room and they took a picture to show it off. Nothing unusual, except for one thing. Look at the glass tabletop in the reflection.
Oh, there's somebody standing in it.
When the photo was posted online to be debunked, the first reaction was sensible. Pareidolia, the trick of the mind that finds faces in random patterns.
Pareidolia.
Just a reflection of the furniture, surely. But the longer people looked, the less it held up.
It kind of looks like somebody sit. Bro, it looks like sitting there. Yeah, it looks like somebody sitting there.
Exactly like someone sitting on it. So what
Yeah,
do
it
you think?
does look like somebody
Pareidolia or
sitting
something
there.
far
That's
more
crazy.
sinister? Let us know in the comments.
There's a dark spot right there also.
First up, imagine being fast asleep when your phone screams a government emergency alert at 1 in the morning, warning you that aliens have arrived. That's exactly what happened to thousands of people across Brazil.
When?
In the early hours of the 20th of June 2026, the country's official civil defense alert system, normally reserved for floods and storms, started blasting phones across at least 7 cities.
Wow.
One message in Belo Horizonte read, "Protect yourselves, alien attack, people, we have arrived." Others were stranger still, peppered with the word misanthropy, meaning a hatred of humankind. There was, of course, no invasion. Officials pulled the entire system offline at 1:30 in the morning.
Somebody
and
hack
confirmed
it or
had
what?
been hacked.
Oh, yeah.
The case is now with the federal police. But for one strange night, an entire country woke up to an official warning that the aliens had landed.
Wow.
Staying on that theme, over in Turkey, residents of a town called Saydikemir got a fright of their own. In an olive grove, someone discovered a towering structure, nearly 23 feet tall,
You know,
an enormous open...
I have had the same olive tree for almost 3.5 years, and that tree has not grown any higher than maybe this tall. About when I bought it, it was this tall, and it hasn't grown at all. Like upwards. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it, but it looks like, like it's a deserted area, and I live in, Texas. That's close to the desert as you gonna get. Anyways, back to the video.
ended box with a giant ball suspended in its center. It looked, for all the world, like something not of this earth. The unnerved local who found it did the sensible thing and called the police, sparking an investigation and no shortage of wild
I
theories.
wonder what olive straight from the tree
truth,
tastes
in
like.
the end, was a little more grounded. It turned out to be a piece of art. But for a while there, it had the whole town convinced something had landed in the olive trees.
That's pretty dope. I bet it took a while to get, unless somebody built it there.
Now here's one to keep you up at night. At a recent UFO briefing on Capitol Hill, a Gaia investigator named Joshua Golembeski says the most jaw-dropping moment never made the news. He claims a former member of the government's UAP task force told him privately that she believes she once encountered 2 extraterrestrials. Not in the craft, not in the desert, but out in public.
She said,
According to the account, they were humanoid enough to blend right in and wore disguises. But when they revealed their eyes, something was clearly deeply wrong. He says she's stood by it, claiming there are non-human beings living quietly in certain parts of the United States, human enough to walk among us completely
Those aren't
undetected.
aliens. Those are lizard people. Big difference, big difference.
And finally, a ghost hunt that ended with the ghost hunter himself going missing. On the 19th of June, a 34-year-old Malaysian paranormal vlogger was live streaming an overnight investigation at the haunted Malacca Botanical Gardens. Around half an hour in, his stream suddenly cut out. When he didn't resurface and his friends couldn't reach him, a missing person report was filed and a search began. 3 days later, he was found weak and disoriented inside a public toilet near an adventure park in the gardens. He was rushed to hospital. But here's the thing, almost no one believes him. The comment sections lit up with accusations that the whole thing was a stunt to boost his channel, And they may have a point, because just last year, 2 other Malaysian influencers faked an almost identical jungle disappearance and were caught out by police. That's your rapid fire round. Now back to the countdown. In Indonesia, there's a piece of folklore that truck drivers know well. The idea that on long night drives, an unseen passenger can climb aboard and ride along with you. They say you can feel it. The truck turning suddenly heavier, the engine losing power for no reason.
Oh my goodness.
A strange smell or odd noises coming from somewhere in the load. So when this driver, alone on a dark mountain road at night, heard a strange noise coming from underneath his truck, he pulled over to check. What his camera caught next has made this one of the most talked about scary videos in the country.
Get in the truck, stupid!
He takes out his camera and runs it slowly along the underside, looking for whatever's causing the sound. Then he reaches the back.
And bro gonna take off running into the dark
There,
jungle.
at the rear of the truck, a pair of legs hanging in the dark with
Survival
nothing above them.
skills of a donut. Crazy. That's when you hop back in the truck, you throw that baby in reverse, and go straight into a tree.
Darkness. So we never find out what happened next. Whether he simply drove away, shaken, or whether somewhere on that lonely mountain road, his unseen passenger was still riding along with him.
And he was never seen again. No, I'm just kidding. I can't believe he just ran off into the darkness like that.
This scary photo was sent in by one of our viewers, a woman named Dina, and it's a little different. She was sitting in her living room one evening. In the chair, you can just see the eye on the right of frame when her camera caught this. A glowing figure over in the kitchen.
Cap.
And it wasn't the first sign that something was there. Dina says that at her old apartment, she'd been hearing knocking in the kitchen over and over, usually in the evenings and at night. But it went further than sounds. She says the corner of her bed would press down, as though someone had sat on it while she was lying in it. And once, she felt a poke on the back of her shoulder in the dark. Here's the thing though, she never felt it was anything bad. The way she describes it, it was less like a menacing spirit and more like dealing with a toddler. Something playful, gently trying to get her attention or simply to annoy her. And then, one day, it simply stopped. The knocking faded, the little nudges ended, whatever had been sharing that apartment with her seemed to quieten down and slip away. Dina says she doesn't know if it will ever come back. For now, all that's left of it is this, a glowing figure in her kitchen and the face of a young man who was never really there.
Made. You can't trust photos. You can barely trust videos these days, dude.
The father and his young daughter are playing a game in her bedroom.
Okay, you want me to make buckets now?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I want to catch it.
Oh, you want to catch it and then put it?
Okay.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
There, behind her, the blind shifts.
I want to catch it.
Oh, you want to catch it and then put it?
Okay.
Okay. Oh.
But it's like somebody's looking out. That's crazy.
Just a small movement, a ripple,
that means
a tilt,
it's inside
as though
already.
Something brushed against it. But no one is near it. The window is closed. The little girl is a step away, facing the other direction. There's nothing in that room that should have made it move.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
And yet, for one brief moment, something did.
Oh, you want to catch it and then put it?
Okay.
Okay. Oh. Yeah.
That's crazy. What?
You may have seen this image before. It went viral as a symbol of modern carelessness. An ancient human skeleton lying in the earth with a bright yellow gas pipe driven straight through the skull. The outrage wrote itself. Here was heritage trampled by industry. The dead desecrated for the sake of a utility line. But the truth is stranger and a great deal sadder. This is a woman archaeologists nicknamed Piper. She was buried here in Oakington, Cambridgeshire around the late 6th century, roughly 1500 years ago, and she was someone of importance. She was laid to rest in a fine-pinned cloak and dress, with an expensive cruciform brooch, wrist clasps, and swags of amber and glass beads draped across her. The grave of a wealthy, respected woman. As for the pipe, no one ever meant to harm her. It was a gas line installed by drilling a tunnel deep underground between access points without ever opening the surface. The crew never dug down, they never saw her. Their equipment simply bored a path through the earth, and that path happened to run directly through her skull. They missed her precious grave goods by mere centimetres, and almost certainly never knew she was there at all. And here's the part that lifts it beyond a grim photo. Piper was just one of more than 100 people buried at Oakington, and that cemetery has since reshaped what we thought we knew about early England. The people here weren't a single conquering race. They were a mingled community of natives and newcomers living and dying side by side. The very story of who the English are was rewritten by the dead of this field. But it's Piper the world remembers, a woman dressed with care and grief and laid in the ground by people who loved her. She lay undisturbed for 1,500 years. And then, one ordinary day, a drill passed blindly through her skull, and it was only because of that we ever met her at all. Ghosts are supposed to follow certain rules. They knock on walls, they drift down corridors, they turn up as a cold patch in an empty room, but the haunting at Meadow Cottage broke all of those rules. Because this ghost didn't rattle chains or moan in the dark, it typed. Our story begins in the autumn of 1984 in the quiet village of Dodleston in Cheshire near the Welsh border. A teacher named Ken Webster had moved into Meadow Cottage, an old run-down house he was slowly renovating along with his girlfriend Debbie and their lodger Nick. At first, the strangeness was the ordinary kind. Footprints began appearing in the dust on the floors, but these footprints had 6 toes, and they seemed to walk up the walls between the kitchen and the bathroom.
That's a sign of demonic possession,
sir. By
the
next morning, they were back. Then objects started moving. Cans of cat food were found neatly stacked into pyramids. Cold gusts swept through locked rooms. But the haunting was just getting started, and it was about to find a far stranger way to speak. Ken had borrowed a computer from the school where he taught, a BBC Micro, one of the most common machines in 1980s Britain. Crucially, it was not connected to anything, no internet, no network. This was years before the web existed. It was simply a standalone box that sat in the cottage. One evening, the family came home to find a message waiting on the screen, written in strange, archaic, badly spelled English, as though someone from another century had sat down at the keyboard and tried to type. The writer gave his name as Lucas, and he was angry. He believed Ken and Debbie were intruders living in his home without permission. He demanded to know who they were and what they were doing in his house, because according to him, the year was 1546. Imagine that for a moment. You come home, switch on your computer, and find a furious letter from a man who insists it's the middle of the 16th century, that this is his house, and that you are the ghost haunting him. To him, Ken and Debbie were the intruders, the strange presences he couldn't explain. From where Thomas sat, it was the people of 1985 who were the unwelcome spirits in his home. What followed was one of the strangest correspondences ever recorded. Over roughly 18 months, Ken typed messages back and the replies kept coming, more than 300 of them in total. Lucas eventually admitted his real name was Thomas Harden. He'd lied at first, he said, to protect himself. He described his life, his home, the world around him in Tudor England. He said he was able to see into his future, into Ken's present, through a glowing light box he'd been given. And then the story took a turn that even Ken struggled to follow, because a third voice entered the conversation, one that called itself simply 2109. It claimed to be writing from that very year in the future. It said that Ken, Debbie and Nick had a purpose, one that would change the course of history, and it warned others not to interfere. Suddenly, this was no longer a ghost story. It was a conversation stretched across 3 points in time, 1546, 1985, and 2109. So was any of it real? This is where it gets genuinely difficult to dismiss. When researchers looked into the name Thomas Harden, they found something unexpected. A man by that name really had existed, a vicar living in the right period. Other details mentioned in the messages, including a local sheriff, also appeared to match real historical records. And the computer, remember, was never connected to a network. There was no obvious way for anyone to beam messages into it from outside, but the skeptics have landed some heavy blows of their own. A linguistics expert from Cambridge University examined the supposedly Tudor writing and was deeply unconvinced. She found the grammar in her words hopelessly wrong. It didn't read like genuine 16th century English at all. Worse still, she noticed that the message's writing style closely resembled Ken Webster's own, the same habits, the same turns of phrase. And of course, Ken went on to write a book about the whole affair, which gave him every reason to make the story as compelling as possible. And yet, even that doesn't fully close the case.
It was
a
all
hope
advertisement
sustained
for his
over
new
18
book.
months across hundreds of messages, on a borrowed computer, in a busy household, would have been an extraordinary feat in itself. In 1986, the messages simply stopped. Thomas Harden said his goodbyes. The voice from 2109 announced its work was done, and the screen at Meadow Cottage fell silent for good. To this day, no one has ever proven what truly happened in that little Cheshire
Is the
cottage.
computer still
whether
there?
it was an elaborate fiction or whether for one strange year and a half, a man from 1546 really did sit at his lightbox and reach across 5 centuries to argue with the strangers living in his home.
Whoa. That's crazy. That one's crazy, yeah, definitely. If somebody was messaging me on the computer from the future, I would be asking for lottery numbers. I'm not gonna lie. But that was some scary videos. I appreciate y'all for watching with me. I'm Legacy. Y'all have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.